Thanks for clicking on or downloading the DFS Army Week 9 Waiver Wire podcast. I am Long Sez at Alan Seslowski. I am back here with my friend Shane Seeley from the FlexNetwork. Shane,
what's up, brother?
I missed you, man.
I know it's been crazy. I've been away for, it's been, I guess, like 9 days since my last podcast. I feel like an addict, right? It's been 9 days since my last podcast. But seriously, I missed it. And I was telling you off air here that I was at like a camp. So it's not like I was just like away from my computer. I was out of like society. So I felt so just out of it because you're like keeping track of every little news detail, who's injured, who's not going to be there. And then, you're tweaking your DFS lineups on Sunday morning, but I didn't play any DFS this week. I kind of just set it and forget it. It was crazy.
Oh,
man.
I thought you meant like you had no internet connection. I was going to tell you, Donald Trump is about to be impeached. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot going on that you missed. Yeah. It's like one of those when you woke up from So anyway, let's get right into it. Week 8 was filled with some really nice pickups. The wide receiver market was filled with players that were real viable pickups. And week 9, not as much. And normally we like to go into the I'm going to try to take this off again. Here we go. The positions that are sexy, the running back, wide receiver, but we're going to go where the action is, and the action is at tight end this week.
Oof, yeah.
I know, right? It's the tight end. So I put together, I'm going to post a list in the Slack chat for the DFS Army listeners, for those listening on the public feed. My number one pickup for this week is Dallas Goedert. He's 22% owned. Dallas Goedert, man, there is huge upside, but it's probably not on this team. Goddard has come on lately. I mean, there's just, it's a crowded field in Philly, but if you're desperate at tight end like most of us, Dallas Goedert is out there in most leagues. I mean, do you like Goddard as a priority pickup, Shane?
Well, I mean, like in any league, it's right now, it's just this tight end market is tough. And I know that Austin Hooper, who's been kind of a tight end darling, he's on a bye this week. So this might be a week where you got to pick somebody up off the wire. And a guy like Dallas Goedert, he's a guy who can get a touchdown. I mean, just look at it. His targets this week, 5 targets, but he got the touchdown. Last week against Dallas, 4 targets, but he got the touchdown. So they're high value targets that they're going after him, and he's showing that he can produce, right? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, on any other team, he would just be, he would just, kill. Obviously, the best situation would be like the Patriots. Everyone always says that, but I mean, he's there. It's fine. Zach Ertz is actually on his last year of his contract next year, and he's already like almost 30 years old. So dynasty wise, Goddard obviously is probably, definitely rostered. But for week 9, I think he's a live play. I've had to play him in a couple spots already. Moving on down that list, Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith, he has 3rd round draft capital. He's in his 3rd year. Delaney Walker was out last week. He shined again. I'm just pulling up my sheet right now, but Ryan Tannehill has made that offense viable once again.
Yes,
this could be the start of a nice little breakout for Jonnu Smith. Are you in on him? Are you going to bid on him?
I love Jonnu Smith. I have him in 2 of my dynasty leagues. Surprisingly, actually, in one of my dynasty leagues where these guys are super, super sharp, and it's a tight end premium. He was available on the wire about 4 weeks ago. Somebody dropped him, and I just scooped him up for nothing, and I've kind of been stashing him because, to your point, like Delaney Walker, he's banged up, and he's often banged up. I mean, who knows if this is not going to be his last season just because of all the injuries. And he's good, man. Like, just look at last week. Look at his line. Like, okay, here we go. I got it in front of me. So 7 targets, 6 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, we know that they like to focus on the tight end in that offense. Why not Jonnu Smith? Yeah,
Jonnu Smith is definitely a pickup. Like I said, tight ends usually break out around year 3. Now the opportunity is there. Now everyone had all of the Tennessee passing game dead to rights. Tannehill may not be a superstar, but he certainly looks like he could be an Andy Dalton level at his peak, sort of a guy that just at least is competent enough to make the offense function. So we certainly, what would you bid on a guy like Goddard and Jonnu Smith?
Well, see, I actually believe that Jonnu Smith is going to have some value even if Delaney Walker comes back in the near term. So I would actually favor Johnny Smith a little bit more.
Okay, so you have him as the priority pickup. So how much
I would
left of your budget? I mean, people are probably, don't have much left, or they're just saving it. If you're just in trouble at tight end, if it's just
I mean, this might be one of those situations where you put like $2-3 on them or 2-3%. Like you kind of just want to get him because people, unless they absolutely need a tight end, like I think Gerald Everett's also want to buy this week. And Chris Herndon, who knows what's happening with that guy. So people might be desperate, and at the same time, people are being penny pitchers. So you could probably win them for 3 to 4%, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I would, me, I like to put a little bit more to get him. I think,
yeah,
but not much more. I think like 9% or under to get a tight end. I mean, if you see a tight end that's viable, I mean,
well, shoot, like in the league where I have Austin Hooper, I got him off the waiver wire after Henry went down. What was that?
Matt said that you came back looking younger.
Woo! That's because I was away from society, Matt.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, I mean, I don't know. Sorry, I lost my train of thought, man.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So the next guy on my list, again, tight end is definitely where it's at this year. I mean, we were talking about Darren Fells on Houston a couple weeks ago. Now, sure, he's a journeyman, a 33-year-old journeyman, but he is playing with an MVP candidate in Deshaun Watson. And anytime you take a tight end and put him with, I mean, he's 6'7", he's an ex-basketball player. Usually we don't try to chase touchdowns, but in a year where Hopkins has had like a down year for Hopkins, Kenny Stills disappoints. Last week, I mean, he had a nice big week the week before. QT, I don't even know if he was active last week.
I don't think he was targeted. He was definitely active.
So normally you like to chase yards and catches when you talk about your tight ends, because you just can't bank on touchdowns. But a guy like Fells playing with Watson, I don't know if you saw the touchdown catch that Fells had. Yeah, I mean, anytime. So you can I would say in any given week, Fells has like a 50% chance to score a touchdown. I mean, given that offense, because they're going to score about 28 to 30 points a week. And I would say when they get down to the end zone, Fells is a guy that he's looked for. Fells has
like to get throwing the ball, because I mean, like the running game hasn't really like inspired a ton of confidence. So yeah, absolutely, he's got an opportunity every week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Fells is a viable pickup. We had been talking about him for a couple weeks, but now it's time to put a $6-7 bid on him. In a desperate tight end week. I still like the other guys a little bit better that we talked about, but if it just we're getting down deeper here, and sometimes the less fruitful your wire, sometimes the more you have to spend. When you have a lot of options, then sure you can. You certainly do. So you're in on Fells. You like that pick as well?
I like it. Yeah.
Okay. From also the last tight end I have on here is Chris Herndon. Now, I don't know how long you're going to wait.
Dude, oh my God, he's killing me. He's absolutely killing me.
Are you rostering him anywhere?
Yeah, dude, in our Banana Hammock League.
Okay.
What got him?
Well, why are you waiting on him? Like what's...
because first of all, I've drafted Vance McDonald, so I've been playing waiver wire tight end all season, but it's tough because like there's not a lot of other good options. Like at the running back position, you talk about you want to stash guys like Rex Burkhead, are guys that like Brandon Bolden. These are guys who are viable to start, and it's disgusting. It's like play the damn song. But I don't know. I mean, like if he is who we think he was going to be, and the fact is that the Jets have faced a pretty challenging schedule recently. Against the Patriots, against the Bills, like they've had tough defenses, so they're going to be a little bit better than they've looked. And if they can get this guy back, I mean, who knows? They didn't end up training Lev Bell today, where we're talking about this on the evening of Tuesday, following the trade deadline. But I mean, it's an option if he comes through, man.
Well, a guy like Herndon at this point, like I was ready to play him sight unseen. If he was not on the injury report and he just came back off the suspension, I didn't need. Usually you need like a show me week with these type of guys. I didn't need a show me week, but now that he's been banged up a little bit, not only do I want to see him off the waiver report, I want to see him in a game first before I even think about using him for some viability. So that wraps up the tight end market. Before we move on, I just want to tell you, our friends that are watching here and listening and downloading, about our friends over at overlaydfs.com. Have you played on Overlay DFS yet, Shane?
No, I have not.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I urge you to go over there. So if you're tired of having to pick the perfect player at every position in order to win on salary cap DFS, are you tired of having your salary cap lineup out of the running to win the money in the first 5 minutes? Does salary cap DFS feel like a job and not a game? Want a fantasy game where the pros with 150 lineups and computer algorithms can't dominate? Then OverlayDFS.com has a new revolutionary start-sit game for fantasy sports. They have a max of 10 entries, so you can't have the pros in there putting in their 150 lineups. Here's how you play, Shane. It's a simple start-sit format. You make 12 decisions based on 30 matchups they give you. You'll get a win, a loss, or a tie for each one that you guessed correctly. Records in the top 10% of users will win 9 times their buy-in. 12-0 records will win the guaranteed progressive bonus. All matchups are player versus player who will have more total fantasy points. Usually 8-4 is good enough to cash, sometimes 7-5, and on certain weeks it's 9-3. You'll make 12 picks from the matchups that they have. This week, I'm actually on the site right now. They have some cool matchups. So tell me who you would like. So this week they have Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson. Who do you think will have more fantasy points?
Oh, man. Aaron Rodgers is playing like out of his mind recently, hasn't he?
So is Russell Wilson.
So is Russ, man. All right. Well, I mean, let's look at it. Seattle's against Tampa Bay. Ooh, that's juicy.
And Aaron Rodgers versus LA Chargers.
The Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers are a little bit better than they've been.
Oh, snap ball. Who do you like better?
Oh, I would have to go with Russ.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 others that they have on OverlayDFS.com. Who do you think will have a better game, Phillip Rivers or Derek Carr? Derek Carr versus Detroit, Phillip Rivers versus Green Bay.
Man, I think probably give me against Green Bay.
Yep. And this is interesting. They have Devontae Adams versus Keenan Allen. If Devontae Adams is out, I wonder if that's a free square or not. That would be interesting.
Well, that might be tricky, right? Because Keenan Allen, he's hurt right now.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy where he's got just a little nagging injury. He's a shell of himself.
Yeah.
So
So on OverlayDFS.com, what you could do is you pick all these, and they'd have cross sports ones. So you could pick which baseball player it will have more fantasy points, and then for basketball season, it's going to be off the chain as well because the standings flip on every assist, every pass. So you can also download their app in iTunes by going to Overlay DFS Fantasy Sports, and you could check that out. So check out their game, Shane. You really like it. It's a good.
I was having fun. That was pretty cool. I'm gonna do it after we get off right now.
Awesome.
Because that sounds awesome, dude.
Cool. All right, so let's continue on with our waiver wire pickups. Did I miss anyone with tight end? You're comfortable with that selection?
No, I think we can move on with tight. I mean, tight end's like kind of is what it is.
Yep. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Running back. So I know there was a running back that you emailed me offline and said, hey, we need to make sure we talk about this running back. So tell me who it is and, include how much FAAB and why he's important this week.
Okay. So the guy is obviously Jalen Samuels, right? We saw it that James Conner was like in those just absolutely useless last few minutes. And he hit his shoulder, and it looked like it was an AC joint that he hurt. So at this point, he said, oh, it's not serious. It's nothing season-ending. But you always have to worry because James Conner's always just a little bit banged up. Jalen Samuels, man, this is a guy who is as good as James Conner, if not better, I would argue. He's just a little bit more diversifiable. Like he can catch the ball out of the backfield a lot better than James Conner. I feel like James Conner just has these stupid drops, and he's just as big as him. So this is a guy who, if they actually just gave him the opportunity, could be the lead back. And at this point, I would go all in.
So, okay. So, is that, I wonder if that's Geek. He wrote, how much should I spend on Jalen Samuels? Yeah, you're saying it's an all-in play. I kind of agree.
It's an all-in play.
At this point,
because you don't have 100% of your budget. You've got like 38% left or 28% left. Well, so at this point, go ahead.
I'm saying, but what if you've saved it? What if you have like $80 left out of $100 budget?
I mean, what are you waiting for at this point? If you still have all that money, what are you waiting for? Mm-hmm. I mean, we know that some of these handcuffs have not been absolute locks. Like Chase Edmonds just looked like he was going to go crazy, and then he got hurt. Right? Nothing's for sure, but at this point, Jalen Samuels, he's showing you what he can do, guys. Like Pittsburgh still has a strong offensive line, and yes, we're going to talk about his teammate later, but Mason Rudolph is finally starting to push the ball down the field a little bit. That team kind of looks good again.
All right, so
against Miami, but
Shane's breaking the kitty open for Jalen Samuels. I'm there with him on that. I think that's a great idea. It's again, it depends on what your running back situation is. If you're one of these rare teams, I don't know any that's stacked at running back.
Dude, I would almost argue that, you know, people who are stacked at running back, maybe they haven't spent all their budget. This is the guy that you want to get, right? He's like the lottery ticket if you're like marching to the playoffs already.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Rashad Penny, you know, showed a pulse last week. I was hoping he would get traded. Didn't happen. I think he needs Carson to be relevant. So I have him as my number 2 pickup. I mean, I could see pushing him down. I still think he's worth a few dollars bid. Mark Walton in Miami, he is the guy standing. I mean, I don't know. I think Miami's a lock to draft one of those 2020 running backs.
Oh, for sure.
But if you need them this year and you're not worried about next year.
Your boy, he ain't there anymore.
Yeah, I mean, Kenyon Drake over in Arizona. I think that's a great spot for him. He's going to flourish there for sure. Moving down the list, I put Alexander Madison on my list every week, and I know it really hasn't paid off yet, but the upside is so high that he's just if you can find a way to roster this guy. I mean, you're betting basically on a Dalvin Cook injury. So whatever the percentage chance that you give Cook to get injured is because Madison's a top 10 running back should Dalvin Cook get hurt, correct?
Oh my God. Top 5. And you guys were talking about where would you draft Dalvin Cook? I would say Dalvin Cook's a 2.
Yeah.
You take Christian McCaffrey, then you take Dalvin Cook.
You're talking about if we redrafted the players today. Yeah. So Madison.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So Madison, who's only, let me just check his ownership percentage. It's still only at 21%. So he's available in most leagues. The other players I put on this list, Shane, were Darrell Henderson. I don't think you can roster him heading into a bye, but if you do have the space, still worth a buck. Trey Carson on Detroit got 12 carries last week, and Zach Zenner might be the goal line hammer if you're desperate in Arizona. Anyone to add to that list?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. I mean, at this point, like it's slim pickings, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good running back week, and that's, you know, all the people that went all in Ty Johnson. You know, it was one of the things. I put one really big bid in on Ty Johnson in one of my redraft leagues, and then like at the last minute, like I just totally chicken littled out and canceled the bid.
Oh yeah.
And
well, listen, okay, so I wouldn't be completely out on Ty Johnson at this point.
No, I'm not out, but I'm glad I didn't spend my FAAB on him, is what I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the thing is that it's not like he's only going to get one game, right? He's going to get the rest of the season, or at least till week 16, which for all intents and purposes is the rest of the season. And I don't know. I mean, I think he's pretty talented. I took him as a late round stash in one of our rookie drafts this year, and he's one of the bright spots on my team right now, surprisingly. But he's a guy who I think, you know, he's got a long audition and he's talented enough as long as he can stay healthy. I think that he's got an opportunity. Detroit is good this year, man. Like they're getting opportunities in the red zone.
Yeah, we just got a question. Is Drake going to have value with Arizona? Heck yeah, man. Yeah. They didn't trade. You know, it's weird because they're at 3-4 Detroit. I mean, Arizona, and they spent draft capital on a running back again. You know, and he's a free agent next year too. So I mean, they must think that they're going to to keep him. But yeah, I think they're going to unleash him a little bit. And I mean, we'll see if another team can't use Drake properly to his skill set level, then we'll have to
talk about it.
Yeah, then we can. But yeah, I mean,
he's only 25, dude. Like that's still prime age,
and not a lot of miles. Not a lot of miles for sure. Yeah, I mean, if Drake is, I think Drake was like 70% owned. I checked before the podcast.
He's pretty much owned. I mean, a lot of people just had him, right? Like he was like a flex play consideration every week.
He was one of those guys too good, not good enough to play, too good to drop. We talk about that all the time. So yeah, Drake will. I think Drake, you could project him safely as a top 24 running back in PPR. So yeah, that rounds out the running backs. I'm just looking down the list. Yeah, I mean, I get some questions about Darius Geis. Now, Darius Geis should be coming back week 11. I don't think you can wait 3 weeks with Darius Geis on your roster. Maybe a week, 2 weeks if you want it. But I mean, if you have the room, if your roster is just really hurting at the end and just, sure, add him.
You know what I would do, because every week is kind of crazy. Like if he's available on your waiver wire, just go pick him up. Pick him up for free or pick him up for $1 or 1% or something like that. Just stash him. If you can afford to stash him this week, stash him.
Right.
Next week, if you have to drop him, then you drop him. But if you can't still say you don't have any injuries, keep him. You never know what's going to happen. Like,
of course, but what I'm saying is most people have a lot of players on bye, so they're putting their starters on the bench and they're picking up guys that they could play this week.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, stash everybody in your 40-team league for sure.
Question for you: like, say you had Chris Herndon on your bench right now, and he's just been killing you. Would you drop him for Darius Geis? or
yeah. I mean, if I needed running back help for sure. I mean, Chris Herndon's not helping you.
Yeah.
But I mean, but if you're okay at running back, it's all. It's a great question though. That's a good.
See, I'm saying because I'm kind of I'm a Darius Geis truther, right? So
yeah, but we're not talking about dynasty. We're hopeful again next year. But think about it, even if you get him back, he's on a bad offense. Presumably, Dwayne Haskins who's looked horrendous.
He does not look good. Oh man, I was so excited for him, and then he's just like, ugh.
A deer in headlights, my friend. That's what he's looked like so far. It's looked pretty bad. All right, so continue on wide receiver. We both agree Deontay Johnson belongs to the top of this list.
Yes, he looks so good.
Yeah, he's only 12% owned. I would put 15 to 25%. He looks like he has chemistry with Mason Rudolph. Anything to add there?
No, I like it. I mean, I mentioned it earlier in the show that Mason Rudolph's actually trying to push the ball down the field now, and that's very good for Deontay Johnson.
Yeah,
because you're right. He's got chemistry. Like he almost looks. Like who would you rather have, Deontay Johnson or Juju? Probably always Juju, right? Mm-hmm. But James Washington versus Deontay, like Deontay Johnson for sure, right?
Yeah, it's it's amazing how Pittsburgh constantly finds these wide receivers in the draft and develops them. I mean, going back to Hines Ward, and then after that, Mike. What?
AB, what was he, round 6?
Well, I'm saying before that, Mike Wallace. And then after Mike Wallace wanted a lot of money, then they, Antonio Brown. And then after Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. We're missing somebody in there, right? Didn't they have another guy? Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders.
They developed Emmanuel Sanders. So, they're one of these teams that, the opposite of the world champion Patriots, your Patriots, who just can't seem to draft a wide receiver that's worth a dime, right?
Oh, all right. You got to hurt me about N'Keal Harry. My goodness.
I know. We'll see. I mean, it's definitely not for this year. Or it could be maybe later on. The other players I added on to the waiver wire cheat sheet for the wide receiver position is Devontae Parker. He scored a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 weeks. And the coaching staff, there was rumors that he was going to be traded. I didn't believe those rumors for a second. The coaching staff has made outward statements that they want to feature Parker and him to be part of that rebuild. And I think,
but isn't this just like the second or third coaching staff now, where just all they can do is talk about how much they love Devontae Parker, how much they love him, but yet he's always letting you down. He always lets you down.
In the past, yes, but the last month he has not let you down. He's delivered in 3 of the 4 weeks with a touchdown. I'm just pulling up right now, but ever since they've come out and said this about Parker, he's been on the field for no less than 85% of the snaps. It's actually been no less than 80% over the last month. And listen to these target numbers, Shane. Target numbers going backwards from this past week: 8, 10, 4 and 4. Okay, so and then 6 and 7. That's the start of something. That's not the start of someone that that is not going to be part of the plans going forward. And again, when the coaches come out and overtly say it. Okay, we're their actions show they're tanking. We want Devontae Parker, age 26, wide receiver, to be part of the plan going forward, and then actually target him and get him in the red zone. And then that to me shows
it's just to me had like Oakland's Amari Cooper written all over it. You know what I mean? Like how Gruden was talking about how much he loved Amari Cooper, and he was just like the stallion. It was the offense was going to be built around him, and then they traded him. Like I thought for sure Devontae Parker was going to get shipped today, especially since they sold off Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I thought. Where did you think that Parker might go?
Man, honestly, why not the Patriots? I guess it maybe wouldn't trade within the division, but no. I thought
the Packers. The Packers are in desperate need.
Yeah, you're right. That would be great because who knows how long Devontae Adams is going to be out.
And after Devontae Adams, their wide receivers are like terrible. I mean,
MVS is just like not taking advantage at all, man.
Yeah,
frustrating.
I know, but I don't know if he's capable. We've said this a bunch of times.
He's like a number 3. He's like a 2 or a 3.
I think he's a 3 and possibly a 4. But
Malcolm Mitchell or something like that. That's
Aaron Jones is like peak LaDainian Tomlinson out there. The way he's catching the ball, Marshall Faulk. They don't have a wide receiver. I thought for sure that they would go after Devontae Parker or if AJ was healthy. So so that's it.
Here's another thing too. Why would it, like everybody's talking about? Well, why don't the Bengals trade AJ Green? My thought is, why would anybody want AJ Green? He's just going to be hurt all the time. Like you're going to give up like second round draft capital for a guy you might not even have.
Yeah.
Who's going to do that?
Couple quick comments on the wide receiver market. Here comes from Jacob. He said Calvin Ridley's available in one of my leagues. Would you prioritize Ridley over Jalen Samuels? Of course, I'm trying for both, and Deontay Johnson. Okay, so it sounds like he's in a 10-team league. Yeah, I would. It depends if I would get. I would prioritize Ridley if you need wide receiver, Jalen Samuels if you need running back. If you're just ranking the two, if it's a PPR league, I would say Samuels because he's capable of doing both, and he's going to have a little more stability.
I mean, obviously, Calvin Ridley with Austin or Mohamed Sanu, gone. Like, there's going to be more targets, but yeah, I don't know. To me, I'd go Jalen Samuels because I think this week he can help you win more likely. Problem is, we're just not going to know James Conner right away.
And Jason says, thoughts on Kenny Stills? I mean, we love Kenny Stills, and I think that he is a plug and play. Yes, he had a down week.
Don't give up on him. Don't give up on him.
He had a down week last week, but that's going to happen. There's going to be normal receiver volatility. He stepped right in after the injury to Will Fuller and just got 100 yards and a touchdown. Kenny Stills is a great deep threat. He's a great intermediate guy. He's not as fast as Will Fuller, but we love Kenny Stills. He was an all-in bid for us last week as far as being aggressive. I used $50 of a $100 budget to get him in a place where I needed receivers. I was a little disappointed, but yeah, Jason.
Just be patient. Like, he's going to be good.
Yep. And I mean, you have to, if you're ranking Kenny Stills every week, he's inside your top 24 wide receiver rankings. He's one of those guys that could get 100 and a touchdown every week, or, just so he's not a top 12.
Will Fuller. He's basically Will Fuller.
More or less. Yep. And he's not losing much there. Okay. So the last couple of guys we'll just zip by on our waiver, on our wide receiver waiver wire. Darius Slayton, who scored 2 touchdowns last week. 4%.
I like Darius Slayton, man. Like, I actually really like Darius Slayton.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he's probably more in that wide receiver 3 bucket, meaning that he could get you 4 fantasy points or light it up for 20 like he did last week. The opposite of Slayton is
actually. Oh man, can I just say something real quick? Sure. So I was playing Geek this week in our Dynasty League, and so as you know, I'm in rebuild mode, so I have not had a lot of wins. Actually, last week was my first win, so I'm like 2-6 or 2-12, however we do it. And so this week I was actually slated to win against Geek, and I had Darius Slayton go off. I'm like, I'm dancing, because I was driving home from the camp and I was listening. I was damn like, Geek, I got you, buddy. And then freaking Jamal Williams goes and just tears my soul out and puts up like 15 points.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's one of those years for you, man. It's one of those years.
Yeah, dude.
Yep. So Slayton we like in redraft for a pickup. A couple dollars should be able to get him. The opposite of Darius Slayton is Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley has showed an extremely high floor, a boring pick, but every week it's double-digit fantasy points. You can pop him in there in your flex, your wide receiver 3, no problem. He scored a ton.
Lots of big teams on buys right now. So
yeah, absolutely. He's a viable pickup. Couple of dollars should be able to get him. And then last on my sheet that I'm going to be putting up in the Slack chat room is I put Alex Erickson. Now here's the problem. So here, let me start with the good, Shane. Alex Erickson, 21 targets over the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
Swallow that number.
He's fantastic. Oh, I know. Well, you know what? They're actually peppering all the wide receivers. Auden Tate's getting a lot of targets. Even though you wouldn't know with Tyler Boyd's numbers, he's still getting a lot of targets. So they're throwing the ball a lot, and they're very concentrated on these guys.
Absolutely. But the problem is they're heading into a bye. It's almost impossible to hold a guy like that through a bye. But if you can stick him on the end of the bench, I mean, again, stash everybody. It's cheap advice.
Yeah, exactly.
Stash everybody. But I like Alex Erickson. Any other wide receivers to quickly mention that are worth possibly a pickup?
I mean, those are by far the top guys that I can think of. I mean,
okay, yeah. I mean, Josh Reynolds,
Preston Williams. Maybe people would be reluctant, and maybe Preston Williams is available in some leagues. Like, he might be worth it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're playing in like I said, it's ugly enough that we're playing in the Miami sandbox with Devontae Parker. If you want to go down another level to Preston Williams, I understand he's a good player. And then the last one, I would say, just keep an eye on the concussion status of Brandon Cooks coming out of the bye next week, because Josh Reynolds could be a viable play the week after that. So that's just looking ahead there.
It's never good when they're going to an actual specialist, concussion specialist on this stuff. Like, that means it's serious. That's like Jordan Reed level, I'm sure.
Well, it's his second one of the year. So that's a problem. Okay. So just now going down the sheet, we covered all those major positions, wide receiver, QBs, unless you're in a 2 QB league or a super flex. Here's the list of availability. Gardner Minshew's 52% owned, Sam Darnold 19, Derek Carr 22% owned, Cam Newton, who is 43% owned. That's probably people are just scared to drop him. Ryan Tannehill has made the offense viable, 18%. Those are all $1, $2 to $5, $6. Minshew might be a little bit more. Yep. Anyone else that you can think of? I mean, maybe in the super flex world, do you have any faith in the Bengals?
With Ryan Tannehill, man, that Tennessee offense looks actually decent. Like we didn't really mention the wide receivers and sort of go back, but like AJ Brown might be available in some leagues. He might be a guy with stashing.
Absolutely,
he looks good. He's always got that touchdown upside. But so Ryan Tannehill's okay. I mean, we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Is Cam Newton the de facto starter? Like, if they're in a playoff contention, which they are, then maybe they consider bringing him back. But if Kyle Allen's getting him there,
well, Kyle Allen won 4 games in a row. He lost last week. If they lose again, that gives them cover to start Cam. But
Sam Friend looks so good though, dude.
Yeah,
like but I'm against a team like San Francisco, like he kind of like the kid gets the pass, right? A little bit.
Not when you have Cam Newton sitting behind you. It gives them cover to put him back in. But yeah, in normal circumstances, I would go with that. Now Ryan Finley's going to take over for Andy Dalton on the waiver wire on the Friday Night Flex podcast. I said to Matt, I said Andy Dalton's in real danger of a benching. And we debated that spiritedly, and sure enough, it happened. He was a 6th round pick, Finley, something like that, 4th, 5th.
Like that. I think it was 4th, but late.
So
maybe it was a 6th.
To me, he has a chance. I mean, no more than Gardner Minshew had a chance, but this to me signals they're in tank mode as well. People have asked me, what does this mean for the receivers? I don't think it's good, but you never know. I mean, let's see what he got. I mean, if you own Tyler Boyd or any of the receivers there, you wanted Dalton to stay.
Yeah, you're kind of just like gritting your teeth right now. Because I got Boyd in a few leagues because I was pretty high on him, and I'm worried, dude. I'm very worried.
Yep. I mean, that's, there's nothing more you can do. Maybe he'll be good. All right. So that wraps up our week 9 waiver wire pickups. Any just off the top of the head, was there any defenses? Because people always are asking me about defenses in the Slack chat. Is there any defenses?
No, I mean, obviously the Rams are off this week. I tried to wire them last week. None of them like really jump off. I mean, is it? Yeah, I'm trying to look if there's any like
sneaky
defenses here. I mean, like even like Washington, Buffalo, maybe Washington might be like a sneaky play, but that's more of like a DFS like kind of
punt play.
Yeah,
all right. Well, play. If we missed any of your favorite players, you could certainly tweet at us and we'll give you our opinions on them. Make sure, if you're tweeting at us, sometimes we don't know your league context, so it's hard to say, should I pick this guy up? Do your best, but if you ask Shane at Seeley _Shane.
I usually go on at the FlexNetwork 1 as well.
Okay, you can tweet at him there at Alan Slowski. Ask us what we think about a certain player. We'll certainly give you our opinion on him. But just to say, should I pick up Deontay Johnson? What does that mean? You have to give us some context or just ask us our thoughts on a guy. And I think that's a little bit more helpful. Shane, anything else you want to promote before we leave here today?
No, I mean, just check out the Flex Network. Find us on Twitter. Download our podcast and check us out on Friday nights and Sunday mornings. We do the start sit with roster watch. It usually starts at what time now? Is it like
11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? And like and subscribe to their Facebook page. Also, if you are not listening on the DFS Army today, you can go and join them and use promo code SEZ for 20% off. And subscribe DFS Army YouTube channel. Same thing with the Flex Network. Go to like and subscribe our page there. Shane, I will see you on Friday night on the Flex Finder, where I and Flex Matt will be interviewing a replay booth official. Check our Twitter for that, and I will be back.
If you guys want to come on and ask us questions to ask the replay official, we will do that. We're not afraid to do that. Right now. Maybe a couple questions.
Only if they're good questions.
Only if they're good questions. But yeah, I mean, people are interested in that. Like right now, like review is crazy. Like remember it was like the start of the 4th quarter, and it was like 15 minutes between plays because they were reviewing whether or not you got the first down or not. It's just painful at this point. So
we'll get into all that. We'll get
I'm
into
really
it.
excited.
All right, Shane, I will see you on Friday, and everyone else will be back with the waiver wire for week 10 next week. May all your players' ACL stay healthy. Bye-bye.
See you later.